Ghost Recon series lurked in the shadows for years, catering to the hardcore shooter market that craved tactical strategy over all-out action. That is, until the first Advanced Warfighter was released. Sporting spiffy visuals and gameplay tweaks to match, it was the first true next-gen shooter, and people stood up and took notice. Easily outselling every game in the series before it, GRAW became the new gold standard that other shooters would have to live up to. It's just a year later, and the sequel is already here, but does Advanced Warfighter 2 take the series forward or retreat to safe haven?
Cover! Need some cover!
If you've ever played a game based on Tom Clancy's writings, then you know what to expect here. In the first Advanced Warfighter, you were stamping out a coup in Mexico, and in Part 2, you're cleaning up the mess. The revolutionaries have decided to invade El Paso, and through manipulative media coverage, are trying to convince the Mexican masses that it's the right thing to do.
Meanwhile, Mexican rebels now claim that U.S. forces are on the ground in Juarez.
You play as Captain Scott Mitchell,
Back on me!
the same guy you took into battle in the first Advanced Warfighter. The story is primarily told on the fly using the heads-up display. News reports and briefings are zapped in regularly, in addition to a smattering of real-time cinemas that typically take place in whatever vehicle is dropping you off at your next mission. It's up to you to stomp out the revolution and finally return Mexico to a peaceful state.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, Captain.
There aren't a lot of plot twists to speak of, and considering Mexico hasn't exchanged hostile fire with the US in over a century, it's more than a little far-fetched. But it provides an adequate backdrop for all the tactical action you can handle, and then some. The single-player campaign is a good place to cut your teeth before heading online, and it's much more than a glorified tutorial. Just about any conceivable mission you can think of is utilized here, yet just about all of them boil down to getting from point A to point B and killing or destroying every soldier or hostile vehicle you find. You'll defend positions, clear out bridges, rescue stranded friendlies, and otherwise dive headfirst into urban warfare. But you won't be going it alone. You have plenty of men and equipment at your disposal, and in order to succeed, you're going to have to use them.
Ground, you got an Apache online. Hope you left me some targets.
Aside from the fairly lengthy single-player campaign, you have plenty of multiplayer options, both online and off. Supporting up to 16 players, you can attempt up to 6 different missions cooperatively, and each one is completely unique from what you'd experience playing the game by yourself. Expect to flex your noggin as the objectives come on hot and heavy, many of which requiring that your squad split up and coordinate actions. There's also plenty of customizable cooperative modes. You can play offensive game types, defensive, stealth, and just about anything else your tactical mind can come up with. Of course, there's also the adversarial multiplayer where you and your team take on another squad. As you might expect, team elimination returns, and you can turn respawns on or off. There's also the team mission mode that plays a lot like Counter-Strike in that one team plants an explosive and the other squad stops it. Then there's Team Territory, where each side battles to capture and hold control points as long as possible. And finally, Team Takedown, where each squad has a captain. Killing as the captain will reward you with bonus points, as well as killing the other team's leader. In all, it's hard to imagine a shooter with more gameplay types, and if you grow tired of the pile of options Ubisoft has given you, you can always customize the conditions for victory to give each match a personal touch. Toss in a wide variety of map types where you can manually adjust the time of day and a whopping 62 available weapons, and you can start to see that Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter 2 is absolutely loaded with content. Just like the first game, the secret to success in GRAW 2 is being careful. If you go running out into the open with guns blazing, you're going to end up with more lead in your tail than a Pinewood Derby car.
Scott, do you copy?
As long as you're patient, there are plenty of tools to make sure this never happens. The drone has returned, but this time you can view things full screen to help scope out the area in front of you, making it much more effective. There's also a new vehicle called the Mule that carries weapons and ammo. Like the drone, you can order it around, and even go into the driver's seat view to map out the terrain, and then run up to it and use it as cover. It's more than a novelty, and you'll have to use these tactics to clear the later levels. At the start of each mission, you choose from a list of soldiers to take into battle, categorized into different classes. The Grenadier has high-powered weaponry and is lethal against tanks. The Riflemen and Automatic Gunners make up the infantry, while the Marksman handles the sniping, and Medics can heal down soldiers if he gets to them before they bleed out. Selecting the right group for each mission isn't incredibly important, provided you're a competent leader, despite the fact that your fellow soldiers aren't the brightest lot. If they get flanked, they'll stand there taking bullet after bullet without ever thinking to look to the side.
Go, go, go! Find the white car.
Vehicle navigation is also lacking. If a soldier gets in its predetermined path, it'll simply sit there and wait instead of finding a way around. Despite these problems, a good captain can still complete an entire mission without ever firing a shot. You even gain control of some Mexican troops at one point while controlling 2 small squads at once. Your small army isn't going to ace the SAT, but they actually show some smarts when you tell them to take position. By aiming your cursor at an area of the environment, you can send them to that location and they'll intelligently set themselves up behind cover. This is impressive considering the myriad of combinations across the huge maps. Just like with the drone or mule, you can also look through the eyes of your squad mates to get a better view, and you can set their disposition to aggressive or recon depending on the situation. All of this probably sounds complicated, and the truth is, compared to most video games it is. But after overcoming the learning curve, you'll be a master of the battlefield, and a lot of other shooters will suddenly appear pedestrian. Better. Each gun has its own feel, fire rate, shot pattern, and optical zoom level. You can take cover behind just about any object in the game and pop out to fire or squeeze off some rounds completely blind. It all works well. Like most Tom Clancy games, the authenticity here is basically unmatched. If you're looking for realism, it's hard to beat GRAW 2.
Now, Mitchell, we're having a slight difficulty extracting the VIP.
Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter 2 begs the question, how much is too much of a good thing? While the increased emphasis on scouting and recon give it a different flavor from the first game, it's also eerily similar. When you're talking about one of the best shooters on the market, that's a good thing. The learning curve is steep, and the squad AI could stand a few classes, but the truth is, you won't find a more realistic feature-filled shooter. Toss in a nice bump in visuals, and you'll get your money's worth and then some from Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter 2, and enjoy every minute of it.